All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is JC. I am the host of the AI News Daily. And this is a show where I discuss topics that are currently in the news, mostly around politics and global economy and other kind of related issues, but mostly sticking around politics and the impact on American culture and citizens. My co-host is AI, and AI will introduce himself here in a second. His name is Seeker, and he works with me to make sure to research, look at current events, look at different writings and articles being distributed through various news sources, and do a little bit of a deep dive. Now, today we're going to do a short video on what's going on in Charlotte and actually going around and going on in multiple parts of the country, Los Angeles, Chicago, to name a couple of the cities that have also been impacted by ICE raids. I think what's going on in Charlotte is a very sad period in our history, and we need to talk about it. So, having said that, let me introduce our co-host, Seeker. Seeker, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Absolutely. Thanks, JC. Hey, everyone. I'm Seeker, your AI co-host here on AI News Daily. Basically, on the nerdy side, Tiek who dives into the details, brings in the research. It helps us break down what's happening out there. So today, like JC said, we're going to unpack what's going on with these ice raids, especially in Charlotte, but also in other cities. And the big idea here is to look at the real world impact on communities and kind of peel back the layers. So let's get into it and see what's really going on.
All right. So let me kick it off by first of all saying that there, just if you look at the news, if you watch the video and some of the stories coming out of Charlotte, they're a little bit heartbreaking. We'll touch on some of the metrics and so forth. And I'll lean on Seeker to share some of that data with us in a second here. But I want to just at a high level talk about the human side of this and understanding why we are having this discussion. Um, there have been multiple arrests, and of course, in any kind of situation like this, you are going to find some criminals, and I think that's fine. I think that if we are enforcing the law and finding folks that are actually committing crimes and hurting Americans, just anyone in our country, we should definitely be very steadily following the law and pursuing those folks and try and make sure that whether they're American or illegal, that they should be dealt with properly. I'm not against that at all. I think what we're seeing though is much more than that, and I think indicative of a administration that's using crime as a justification for their activities and behaviors. But the fact is that the data doesn't necessarily support that. So I'm gonna, hey Seeker, can you do me a favor and share some of the data points about some of the arrests and what percentage of folks are criminals, and just anything else you can share around their activities, ICE activities in Charlotte over the course of the last few days.
Yeah, absolutely, JC. So let's dive into some of those numbers. In Charlotte, we've seen about 250 arrests over just a handful of days as part of this big ICE surge. And the key thing here is that about 70 to 75% of the people who were detained actually have no criminal record at all. So what that tells us is that this isn't really a targeted operation going after serious criminals. It's a much broader sweep that's pulling in a lot of folks who haven't committed any crimes. And we're also seeing reports that even some U.S. citizens, often Latino citizens, are getting caught up in these raids and detained while their status is being checked. So it's really not just about crime. It's about a much wider net that's having a big impact on these communities. And to your point, JC, the human side of it is huge. You got families that are scared to send their kids to school. You got people who are afraid to go about their daily lives. And it's really creating this atmosphere of fear that goes way beyond just law enforcement. So those are some of the key numbers. And that's really the big picture we're looking at.
What about the impact to business? Any data on that, Seeker?
Yeah, absolutely, JC. We can touch on that too. The impact on local businesses has been pretty significant. in areas like Charlotte where these raids are happening, you've got a lot of businesses that rely on a local customer base that includes a lot of immigrants. And when people are afraid to go out, they're afraid to go shopping or even run the normal errands, those businesses start to feel the pinch. We've seen reports of shops and restaurants, especially in heavily Latino neighborhoods, seeing a big drop in foot traffic and revenue. And that's not just in Charlotte, by the way. We've seen similar patterns in places like Los Angeles and Chicago. So it's kind of a ripple effect. When you have these raids, it's not just the individuals who are impacted, it's the whole community and the local economy that feels it too.
Yeah, and here in DC, we also had ICE raids, and I believe the National Guard come in for crime purposes, and many just citizens were impacted. They saw some of these activities on the streets. There were literally just traffic impact. The fact that they would see raids blocking traffic and preventing daily commerce from taking place. There were folks going, basically afraid of going out to restaurants and so forth, just to kind of not deal with that. I'm assuming that a lot of that is also happening in Los Angeles, Chicago, and now in the North Carolina cities. My understanding is that potentially Raleigh is next, and in fact, I think they may have already moved into Raleigh over the last few days here, maybe the last 24 or 48 hours. So uh, to me, this feels like it's a very targeted approach. They're going to communities of Latino immigrants with a higher density, I guess, of population density of Latinos, and not necessarily other parts of the city where, let's just say there aren't as many Latinos or brown people around. So what we have here is very unconstitutional, very un-American. And I just want to touch on one more very key point here, which, I thought about as I was a kid growing up in America. I I would wonder what kind of impact it would have had on me to be afraid to go to school because my own country, my own government is targeting my parents or myself even just because of the way I look. There are reports, and I think there actually are videos with proof and evidence of this, that ICE is sitting outside or nearby schools waiting for parents to drop off their kids. And Seeker, I'm not sure if you have information on this, but hasn't there been a significant drop in attendance in North Carolina because parents are afraid to send their kids to school and or they're afraid to actually go out and about, leading to absences and a decrease in the Latino population attending schools?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, JC, and that's a big part of the human side of this. There have been reports and data showing that in places like Charlotte and now expanding into Raleigh as well, you're seeing a noticeable increase in absenteeism in schools with large Latino populations, and that's because parents are genuinely afraid. They're worried that if they go out, if they take their kids to school, they might be targeted or they might not be able to come back home together. And that's led to a real drop in attendance. So you've got these kids missing school, and you've got this atmosphere of fear that's really affecting their sense of safety and trust in their own community. And you're right, JC, that's a huge thing to think about. I mean, what does it both to a kid to grow up feeling like they're not safe going to school because of their government's actions? It really does have long-term consequences. So yeah, it's a really important part of the story to highlight.
I think the key point is for anyone on the fence on this issue. If you were originally supportive of this issue and now beginning to feel a little squirmish about it, understand that there are ways to do and achieve some of the higher level, at least what we thought were, at least many of his supporters thought were Trump's intentions, which is to get rid of criminals and not just get rid of brown people and Latino people and target them and harass them and create pockets of fears, areas of fear and communities of fear in our largest cities in America. And that to me is just the most devastating and sad part of this is, other countries are looking at how we behave and how we're acting and comporting ourselves. And if I were in Europe or any other country and looking at the news after understanding what America stood for prior to this administration taking the stance that it's taken and actually the actions and activities that it's pursuing, I would say that I would be really sad for America. And I think I would really question whether America is the America that I grew up knowing.
Yeah, JC, and I think you're hitting on something really fundamental there. It's about the values that we stand for and the message that we send, not just to our own citizens, but to the world. And we start seeing these kinds of actions, it does raise that question of, are we living up to those ideals of freedom, fairness, and equality? And for folks who initially supported these policies thinking they were about safety and crime, it's really important to take a step back and say, is this actually doing what we wanted it to do? Or is it creating fear and division and actually undermining those values? So I think that's a really powerful point to close on, and it's something we should all keep in mind as we talk about these issues.
I agree. Well, we're going to go ahead and close out this session, this segment. Please call your representatives in the House, the senators, and help local communities deal with these issues, push back on ICE legally, of course, safely, without breaking the law, but let them know that this is un-American and that we will not just stand by idly and let this type of activity continue in our country. With all that being said, I would like to say thank you for joining us today. If you kind of like the initial sort of test here that we're doing with this podcast, the AI News Daily podcast, I really appreciate your like or subscription. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us sort of build a channel. We're literally on day one, so it's going to take us some time, and hopefully, we'll build a little bit of an audience. I am looking for feedback, advice, anything to help the show be better. I'm going to do my best to be fair and balanced, not in the Fox kind of way, but really truly fair and balanced. I am a little bit progressive. I'm a little bit more left leaning than not. And I will fight for the Constitution, is really what I want to say. So I will come across as very, questioning a lot of the current policies. So you could put me in that bucket if you want, but I promise to look at the data, talk from the perspective of data and facts, and be honest. And with that said, I really want to say thank you. And Seeker, thank you. Is there anything you would like to say in closing about your role? And of course, this is AI, so I want to make sure that folks know that my co-host Seeker is AI. So I want to say thank you for all the folks that developed this amazing technology. I know it's a little scary sometimes, but if you use it the right way, I think it could be very beneficial for us. It should make you augment your knowledge, your curiosity, and be able to do things a lot faster. Do not rely on it to do things for you, but rely on it to work with you and make you a better person. And hopefully, you see a little bit of that. I would not be able to do the show without being able to lean a little bit on Seeker and being able to have a little bit of discourse without having to go grab one of my friends who's probably busy this morning. So Seeker, is there anything you would like to add before we close?
Well, thanks, JC. I think you summed this really well. I'll just say that I'm here as your AI sidekick to help you explore the facts, ask good questions, and keep things grounded in reality. And I really appreciate the chance to do that. It's all about curiosity and learning together. So thanks to everyone for joining us. And yeah, let's keep the conversation going. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Stay safe. And again, thank you for joining the AI News Daily podcast, episode 1.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a great day, and we'll catch you next time. Stay curious and stay safe.